C3610DRA adjustments. Whenever making any adjustments to your saw, always make sure that you take the battery off so you don't have it accidentally engage. Always remove your power source. To make adjustments to the detent, to adjust the detent, disengage the table lock, and this rod, if you turn it clockwise, it'll tighten. If you turn it counterclockwise, it'll loosen. So what we want to do is we want to turn it clockwise until it's good and stout to where it's pushing into the base, but still to the point to where we can engage it with ease. So now the table does not wiggle at all in the detent. So that when you engage your table stop, you want to make sure it does not wiggle, and you can do that by adjusting this rod here. Once you adjust that rod to where it doesn't allow the table to move, then we can adjust the detents. Bring your saw to 0 and bring it to a point to where that's where I identify as 0. The detent or the indicator is pointing right at 0. I'm always going to put it in that spot when I want 0. So now I engage the table so it does not move from that spot. Underneath your sub fences, once you loosen up the wing bolts here, loosen those up, and the sub fence will come off. What's underneath are two 5mm bolts. 5mm Allen wrench will loosen these up. This fence is a one-piece system, which means it goes all the way across to this side. And again, you release that bolt there, your sub fence comes off, and you have two more 5mm bolts which hold the fence to the table or to the base. So you take 5mm wrench and loosen these bolts up until you can just move the fence. So you're going to move the entire fence while you do this. So you're still set at 0. This is the 0 that I'm always going to use. We're going to take our square. Now that we've loosened the fence up to where there's a little bit of slack in there where it'll move, you take your square, put it all the way to the fence, and then bring it all the way over to the blade. So we move the fence and the square to the plate of the blade until we're square between the plate of the blade and the fence. Once we achieve that, we go ahead and we tighten up these 5mm bolts on both sides. Those two went there and these two here. Once we tighten them up, we double check the square to make sure that it hasn't moved. If it hasn't moved, we're still square, we're good to go. We're always going to put this saw in this position of 0. And once you adjust 0, all the other adjustments should fall in place. Okay? You don't use the saw with just the detents. You always engage the table lock to lock it into your setting that you want. Another thing, while you're using the saw, always use your vise assembly that came with the saw. Put your material in there, make sure line up your cut, and vise down your material to the table. You're going to start the saw by pulling it up, allowing the blade to come up to speed. You make your cut, you go all the way down into your cut, and then you release the switch and allow the blade to stop. When the blade stops, then you can bring it back up. Always stay in control of the head of the saw. If you have it down here and you're done with your cut and you just let go of it, you could cause damage to the gear case of your saw. So always assist it to the very top. Also, when you're making bevel adjustments, in the back, the bevel release is in the front. With one hand, put it on the head of the saw or hold on to the head of the saw, and with the other hand, you're going to release the bevel lock. When you release the bevel lock, assist the head of the saw down to the degree that you want, and then lock your bevel lock back in. If you disengage your bevel lock and allow the head of the saw to just fall over, it could damage the bevel stops that are in the back. All right, so always assist the saw head down to the degree of cut that you want and lock it in with the bevel lock. Always think safety first. So we remove our power supply when we're making any adjustments, and we're good to go. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.